Good evening, everyone. My name is Sanket Nakrekar. I'm working as an event manager for proMX. Uh, Today, I'll be the moderator for the webinar. I welcome you to this exclusive proMX webinar on AI, MCP Server integrations with Copilot Studio. It's my pleasure to introduce you today to our speaker, Martin Hick, who brings over 6 years of experience in data science and AI, including 1.5 years of experience at proMX Group as an AI business consultant. Feel free to share your questions in the chat. We'll address them during the Q&A session. Martin, the stage is yours.
Right. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, depending on where you are, I guess. Yeah, like Sanket said before, we're talking about MCP server integration today with Copilot Studio. So it's going to be a bit of a technical session in the demo. The presentation in the start is probably a bit more conclusive, and then the demo will be a bit more technical. Right. Let's jump in. What are we going to do today? We're going to have a small introduction from my side. Then we're going to see what MCP actually is, how MCP works with Copilot Studio underlying, and then afterwards we're going to see a hands-on on how it actually works in real life. So we're going to implement one MCP, we're going to develop one MCP, and then add it to Copilot Studios. And in the end, obviously, I'm open for questions if you have any, if I couldn't answer anything in my demonstration before. All right, Sanket already told about me. I am a data scientist and AI business consultant for 6 years now, with 1.5 years with Microsoft, with proMX. Before that, I was mainly in data science and did a lot of model development in this part. All right, what are we talking today? What is the big problem that we have? Today we have a lot of AI applications like Copilot, like Claude, all of those. And we have a lot of data sources. So we have a lot of tools that those AI applications want to use, because without them, those AI applications would be pretty standard, like what we know from ChatGPT, and would not be of much use in like a business environment maybe. So what we want to do is connect these AI applications to those data sources. This can be with all those APIs and different connections they have. This can be quite tricky and tedious, because you would have to do it for each AI application again, configure everything from start and to scratch, and thus having like a high effort and a high maintenance cost for those AI applications to be developed and maintained afterwards. So this is where MCP comes in. MCP stands for Model Context Protocol and acts as like a unified interface for all LLMs, all those AI applications that we see. So we only have to think about this standardized solution in the end. So like I said, we have AI applications, we have those data sources, and now we have something in the middle. So those AI applications, to access all those data sources and tools, they just talk through the MCP. And from the MCP, the MCP is then handling all the rest. So in the MCP itself, in the server, we configure all those different APIs and connections that need to be done to different servers. So those AI applications in the end just have to figure out how to talk to the MCP server or multiple MCP servers, and then everything else is done in behind. This saves a lot of energy on all sides, and this one MCP right now is tried to be standardized as like the main connection for AI applications. So we have like a standardized protocol for it. What is the benefits of MCP? I roughly talked about it right now. So especially for developers, it means they don't have to do as much work as they did before. It reduces a lot of development time, because you don't have to maintain all those integrations and connections anymore. You can just apply once and that fits for all kind of scheme. It reduces complexity for the AI applications. So you don't have to worry about much anymore in the AI applications, but you have to put a bit more into the MCP server integration in the end, so in the back end. For AI applications itself, it has a huge benefit because this could mean you can access more data sources and tools and apps that maybe don't have any other connection you can use for those applications yet, and improves the capabilities that those AI applications can do and have. And obviously with those AI enhanced capabilities, you have improved end user experience, so the user can actually do more with it. Speaking of which, we said you can do more with it for the end user, so that's like a big benefit. You can access multiple data sources and take more actions. So actually your AI applications can be more productive and can actually do tasks for you, execute certain actions for you. So how does MCP work in general? So back here on the right side, we have different services that, say, some websites, some applications provide. For example, calendar handling or reading emails, writing emails, printing designs, connecting to databases, all those kind of stuff. And on the other hand, we have those MCP hosts. So MCP hosts would mean all our AI applications, like Claude, like Copilot, for example. So what we now have, we implement different MCP servers to handle those different actions. So this could be done, these servers could be either done by yourself, or this could also be done by the people or the organizations hosting those certain services. So say you have like an email program like Outlook or something, you could provide an MCP server straight from your company, providing access to all those functions like reading emails, writing emails, and make this accessible through an MCP server straight away. So we have those MCP servers wherever they come from, and now we have clients. So MCP clients establish connections to different MCP servers. So this would be the underlying path, what we do later on when we configure custom connectors and all these kind of stuff. So for each server, I need one client that speaks directly to the MCP server. So an MCP host can have multiple clients and is thus connected to multiple MCP servers in the end. So what kind of functionalities can I do with MCP servers? MCP divides this in three parts. One is tools, which is the most widely used, because this provides actions you can use in your LLM later on. So this is something the LLM can call and then execute some function in the end, which is defined by like a JSON scheme that you provide and like specify in the start. Then we have resources. This is kind of like if you know Copilot, for example, this is kind of like knowledge sources. So you can give the MCP server certain knowledge sources it can access, and then this can be provided to AI applications all around, like passive data sources for example, like read-only data sources. So you can't write on this. It's just for information, like getting information out of it. There could be calendar reads. There could be guidelines for a company, whatever you wish. And then third part, we have prompts. Prompts you may also know from a couple of AI applications. So this is basically templates you can use to ease your way around AI applications. So it's like predefined prompts. You can then just like parameterize and add some stuff to it in the end, but you don't have to think about the whole prompt in advance. It gives you some examples already. And this could be draft an email, whatever you imagine. I think all of you have at least once tried one out. So with Copilot Studio so far, we can only use tools. So Copilot Studio limits us to tools right now. But for knowledge sources and prompt suggestions, we have different sources in Copilot Studio itself. So I think, like I said before, the most widely used is the tools kit because it provides you a lot of functions and functionalities you can use. And thus, this is the only thing right now available in Copilot Studio. So whenever you create an MCP or use an MCP that also has resources or prompt suggestions, those are not going to show up in your Copilot Studio agent in the end. For connecting MCP servers with Copilot Studio, there's two options right now. So depending on what kind of MCP server you have. So the easiest case would be there is already an MCP server existing somewhere. So say a company already created an MCP server, or you or Microsoft has already one that is up there. You can see some of them right here. Then you can just go to Add Tools and edit straight from the model catalog, the MCP catalog. So far, I listed all those MCP servers that are available through the catalog itself. This would be the easiest option because it's just like 2 clicks in Copilot Studio to just connect to one of them. The second option, which is a bit more tedious, is say you created your own MCP server. This is what we're going to see later on. Then we have to create a custom connector in our Microsoft universe. So you see right here, all those clients that we have. We have to create custom connectors for that. So these clients are going to be custom connectors in our world. And then we can connect our agent that we have to those custom connectors in the end. Or connect our agent to those MCP servers through our custom connectors, if you want to be correct about it. All right. For this, yeah, later on we're going to see this. You're probably going to have to insert some YAML, but also now there's a different option where it's much easier. This is in preview. I'm going to show you both options later on. You're going to see one option is a bit easier and a bit more user-friendly than the other one. All right. For MCP servers, if we want to create our own, there is multiple SDKs you can use. This is all the SDKs that is available right now. And with those SDKs, you can do the same thing for each programming language. So you could do tools and resources and prompts, clients, transport protocols, all those things inside your language. Right now for the interesting part, I would say. Let's go over to demo and let's go straight into Visual Studio, depending if you love or hate it. So I already created just a small demo repository already, and which is pretty empty. It's all going to be in TypeScript right now. I don't know if you're familiar with, but so far we haven't created much. We just have created an app inside. Now we have to fill it with all our MCP stuff. So first of all, what I need to do here is I need to install my SDK in there. So we're gonna install whatever this is, install, and then we're gonna do model context protocol slash SDK, and this we're gonna install it straight into our repository in our app. This just takes a second while we wait for this. We can already start. So what we need to do is we want to create our own MCP server. So we're gonna set up our server, and the SDK gives us a nice little helper for this straight away, if it recognizes it. Hopefully in a second. So it does. Yes, now it does. Okay, so we create a server first, and then we need to tell it how to transport our messages. So we tell it how to transport. This is important because there's different transport protocols you can use. We're going to use HTTP, so all those messages are going to be sent over via HTTP, and there is like server-side events which we could trigger from the server itself. Then we connect this server to our transport. So we just connect it here. And then we define, don't be alarmed, there's a lot of, then we set up and we call the server in the end. We set up some path to it. So this whole server is just going to have one path. It's just going to listens to MCP, and it mainly listens to post. So all your clients are doing is sending post request to our MCP path in our server. So this is what's going to happen when we call it later on. All right, we've set up everything for the MCP server, but there's no functionality so far in our server. This is just like the bare bone that we have in the background to do all this. Now what we want to do is create new tools inside there. And this is, with the SDK, it's pretty simple. You just do a server, and then it gives you the opportunity to create a new tool. And we give this tool a name. So we say like, we want to do Chuck Norris jokes, for example. So I want to get a Chuck Norris joke, and I'll give it a description so it knows what it's actually doing in this tool. This is very important for our LLMs later on to know when to call this tool itself. So let's say, okay, get a random Chuck Norris joke for me in this. And then we do all the magic in here. So this is where actually the stuff is happening. So in here, now what I do, oh, it knows me already. Thank you, Copilot Studio. Thank you, GitHub Copilot. So it already knows we're going to invoke this API that we have in the background. So this could be now any API that we want. So this could be whatever we like. So we get this, then we change the data, and we then return our output. So this is all we're going to do. And this has a certain structure. So what you need now is you're going to give back return content to it. And this content is going to be of type text. And we want to put the data value in there. So this is going to give us straight away, this was like an easy tool to write. And straight away we have a tool that is fetching us Chuck Norris jokes, one random Chuck Norris joke from this API, and we'll return it to the user straight away. Let's do one more so we can see something else as well, because we can do also parameterize. And for this we say, okay, let's do another tool, sorry, server.tool. And let's say, okay, now we want to get a Chuck Norris joke by category. So we have special categories for it, for example. So let's get a random joke by a specific category. And then what we can do after this is we can tell the tool, oh, you have some parameters you want to give along. So this is what the AI application later on is going to ask the user for input first. So we're going to type it, and then we say we have to describe it afterwards. So we're going to say, okay, this is going to be the category of the joke. All right. So this gives the AI later context on what actually has to be filled in with those for this tool. And then we do the same as before. I'll spare you the details for this one. I'll grab it here so we don't have to use a lot of time for this. Okay, but it's basically nothing more happening. It's just we get a parameter in the category, and then we use this category inside our API to filter out more data. And just for good measurement, we're gonna do one last so we can actually see which categories we need. This is I'll make it really quick. So this is the same thing as before. We just say, okay, now get me all the categories in the end. Nothing more. Right. Now we have this. Let me just compile it real quick. Maybe save it before. So now we've done all the implementation on our side. Before we push it up, before we push it to our server, let's test it locally before. Let's see if it actually works, if it starts. Good way to test it. You wouldn't want to push something that you haven't tested before. All right, it's running. Our server is live and running. And now we have Visual Studio actually gives us the capability to test this out inside Visual Studio. So we don't have to go anywhere outside. We can just go in our agent capability of GitHub Copilot. We can go and create a new connection to an MCP server. So we add a new MCP server. We did an HTTP server because we want to host it later on. And now we just gonna give him some details about where to look for it. So there's going to be localhost, and we put it on port 3000, and we did the path to MCP. We just call it whatever it likes, and let's keep it in my workspace right here. I trust myself. All right, now we have in our workspace, we've defined our MCP server right now, and you see it's running already, so it already created the connection. And what I can do now is just ask the agent questions about this in our text pane over there straight away. So tell me a let's say random Chuck Norris joke. So what we should see here now is that it comes back and says like, oh, I want to use this tool. So it says, oh, let me use this tool for this. And now we can say, okay, yeah, continue with this. So we allow it to use this tool, and then it comes back and says, yeah, here's your Chuck Norris joke. However good or bad this is going to be. Right, this is everything we want to do right here in there. What we're going to do now is we're going to host all this in Azure in a web service. So we're going to go up into our Azure portal. We create a web service. Let me do app service. We're going to create a web app. So this is going to be just fill in some details. We're going to use this as MCP, let's say webinar for right now. Still available, that's good. We want to do it in East US. And since we're running it on JavaScript, we're going to put in Node. All right, and then we're going to create our web app. And create. This hopefully doesn't take too long, so we don't lose much time. Right, there we are. It's going to take 1 or 2 seconds, I guess, to finish this here. No resources to display. That is deployment still in progress. While we're waiting for it, I think I saw two questions already in the chat. Oh yeah, good first question. You were talking about so the question was, can you implement authorization with MCP? And you can. I'm leaving this out right now because it's a bit tedious. It can be a bit tedious. So this is going to take too long. If people are interested in, we can do another session, another webinar sometime. But you can do your own authentication in there. That is correct. All right. Let's go to our resource. Let's connect it. So what I've done is I connected it to, so my repository is in a Azure repo. I'll just configure some things in here. So let's turn SCM on, otherwise we're not gonna be able to use our deployment. And then what I'm doing now is use a, oh no, please save it before, okay. What I'm going to do now is having a continuous deployment. So I'm setting up an Azure repo with my organization. Thank you. I'll look for this repo, what I created. And whenever it gets pushed to main branch, it's going to roll out a new version of it and deploy my app straight away. All right. While this is loading and probably setting everything up, I can go back, and now that I created it, let me just turn on the server and push all of this, maybe about the MCP, that doesn't need change. Push this to my repo. So with this, now my server here gets actually redeployed, and I'm going to have all my tools available, hopefully. Now we can come to the fun part, where we're going to insert those tools into our agent. So I've created an agent just to save some time. It's a pretty basic agent without any knowledge. You can see it can't do Chuck Norris jokes right now. It was just telling like random jokes. So now I want to input my MCP server in here. So what I can do, I can go to tools, I can add a tool, and now what we've seen before is if I want to just connect to a standard server that is already existent, then I could just choose it from the catalog in here. So I could use all those different servers straight away. But I'm more interested in getting my own server connected. So I can go to new tool, and then now there's two options. So this one I feel is pretty new. I haven't seen it long back. So this was surprising me when I was preparing for the webinar right now again. The most common way would be creating a custom connector. So we go to create a custom connector. And then in the custom connector, we create a new one. After it's loading up. Yeah, let's create a new custom connector. Let's give it a name. Jokes MCP. Oops. And continue. All right, now we can go through all those steps, but it's easier. You go just over the Swagger editor, and then you can go to the Microsoft Learn side, and they give you a template for how this schema should look like for MCP servers. You can just straight away paste this in, and then we just change whatever we need. We're going to change this to webinar jokes MCP. Description, yeah, okay, we can change it, like gives awesome Chuck Norris jokes. Then we have to change the host because this is where we're gonna want to attach to. So we just copy our host from our server and then input it in our host. So it's HTTPS scheme, and we have this /MCP path already, so that's great. We're just gonna say, okay, this is, let's do it, jokes MCP. All right, and that's all we have to do. It's pretty simple. And we can create our connector. And thus we go back and create this. So while this is waiting, we're gonna have a look and see if our deployment is ready. Let's see what happened there. This can take a while sometimes. All right, let's wait for this first. Let's see what's finishing earlier. This is also taken. Okay, this has been created successfully now. That is great. So now when we come back here, we should see it. Sometimes it takes a while to refresh, so hopefully it shows up early. Let's see. So webinar. Let's see what we have here. There's webinar jokes MCP. So this is what we want to have. Let's connect this up. While we're waiting, maybe this loaded. Right, this is still in process. Let's hope this is going to finish soon. Okay, and while we're waiting for this, we can add this. So we created this connection. Now we connect to it through this jokes agent. Let's create a connection there to our custom connector and then add it to the agent. Sometimes what I've felt is if you go on add and configure, it might just edit and not go back. So you're going to see the same page again. This is just to keep in mind. Sometimes it's already working. It's locked it in the background. Just be aware you don't click it twice or thrice, because otherwise it's going to edit multiple times to it in the end. So let's see. This is still running, hopefully not for long. So what we should see soon is tools in here. Not sure if it's running this long, then we might not be able to. But normally if we say, tell me a Chuck Norris joke, it should come back or ask us for connection. Yeah, so this is a bit tedious because sometimes you have to reconfigure and reconnect with the tool itself. So we connect up there. See, submit this. And then connect it so we can retry here. And hopefully it all works and we get a joke. Oh, no, we don't get a joke yet. It's probably because it's not yet connected to there. Let's see. Yeah, it's still running on there. So since it takes so long, let me just give you an overview how it should look when we're finished with it. So I have a second one already built before. It's the same concept as we did. It's just been completed for a bit longer. And there you can see if I go in here into my tool, it will straight away give me an overview over all my tools that I have on this MCP server. You're going to see it coming up. It sometimes takes a while to load. Yep. So you see there's like all those different categories in there. And then I can just say, oh, what categories of Chuck Norris jokes can you tell? And then it comes back and goes through my tools, sees, oh, there's something for Chuck Norris jokes. Sees like, oh, you want to get categories. And then it accesses this tool for get Chuck Norris categories for the jokes. And then it lists me all those different jokes straight away. So this is the one way. The other way is pretty similar. It's just like bit more convenient. What they did is giving you the option straight away here in, I'll just click it, maybe. Yeah, giving you the option straight away when you go on new tool. So you save yourself a bit of hustle when you go here. So you just have to enter the server name. So whatever you want to call your server, Chuck Norris jokes. You input the description, tells jokes, and then you would have to insert the endpoint again as we did before and create. And what it does is basically do the same thing as before. It creates this custom connector in the background itself. So this is just a nice front end, so you don't have to put in all those details yourself. So you can just use this straight away for your MCP. All right, I think this is it for the demo. Let's jump back to this. And now I'm open for questions. If there are any, let me check what we have.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you, Martin, for that awesome demo and that awesome presentation. We will move ahead to the questions now, and I saw that you have already taken the first question.
Yes.
So I'll move on to the next two. The second one which I have is, can I add my own MCP to the Copilot Studio in MCP catalog?
So you can, it's possible. You have to submit it to Microsoft and they have to check it. So you have to do like the certification through Microsoft as you do otherwise with custom connectors. And if it gets approved, it will be added to the Microsoft Copilot Studio MCP catalog in the end. So that works, but it's more of a process, I would say. Yes.
Great. Hope that answer was helpful to the audience who have asked the question. Third question is, can I connect my MCP to Azure AI Foundry agents?
You can. There's options also to create your to connect it to your Azure AI Foundry agents. That is no problem. So yeah, works the same way, just in Azure. Maybe a bit more, yeah, programming necessary for that. Not that many clicks you can just do. But it's also available, I think, just for the Azure AI agents. It's a bit less less programming languages you can use in terms of integrating.
Great. Yep, I don't think we have more questions. So I think this was this was the best webinar that we have. Yes, so thank you everyone for joining this webinar. Thank you, Martin, for being so an awesome speaker for us. We'll see you in the next session. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much. Thanks, everyone. Have a good week.
Bye.
Bye.